Thanks everyone for joining the procurement special interest group meeting for November. It's an important topic for today, which is GST preparedness for from an Ariba perspective. So we have two speakers today: Priya, who is also the SIG lead for procurement SIG as part of Indus, and Utpal. So I will ask both of them to introduce themselves and take it away, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mukesh. Thanks for the introduction. Hi, everyone. Myself, Priya Shivaprakasam. I'm part of SAP Ariba Regional GTM Market Unit, and we are going to present about the Ariba Network India GST 2020 solution. I mean, if you have any questions, you can post it in the chat, or we have a Q&A sessions after we finish up the presentation and the demo. Probably you can ask the questions in case you have any additional queries. Yeah, that's about me. And over to Utpal for the introduction.
Hey, thanks, Priya. So my name is Utpal. I am the product manager for globalization in SAP Ariba, and I was involved from the very beginning for development of these two solutions. One was for India GST 2017, and now for India GST 2020. Right. So in this session, we are going to cover the India GST 2020 solution, which is about the live reporting of invoices to invoice registration portal. Um, so let me know, Priya, when to get started with the with the presentation, and followed by a live demo.
Yes, Utpal. So I think we should be good to get started, and probably any participants joining in the middle will admit and probably will take up the questions in between. Yeah.
Sure. All right. So this India GST 2020 solution is way different from the previous solution that we had, where the invoices did not need to be reported to the tax authorities immediately. Now, India is actually moving to the live reporting mode of invoice submission, where the invoices have to be submitted to the tax authorities, and then then it should be submitted to the buyers. Now, this model is similar to what we have seen in Latin American countries and European countries. Interesting to see, a lot of interest there, and because there is, it is going to be a mandatory, solution to be used in the future. And we are hearing that from April 1, 2020, 2021, this solution or this workflow needs to be adopted by every supplier in India. The basic disclaimer here about the solution and SAP Ariba solution in general. Basically, though the solution is developed and it is already available in a limited availability mode, but there may be future changes to the solution. There may be changes because there are changes to the regulations. There may be changes because there are changes to the schema. So all of these things are actually covered by this disclaimer. What we are going to cover today is will be followed by a live demo where we will show how the invoices can be created using the solution. I will be using my live solution or the production account on the live solution to submit few invoices. And but before that, we will actually see what is new in this particular solution, or in this particular new regulation, very briefly, because I'm sure that most of you will be aware of this. What are the different milestones that has been set by the tax authorities? What is the difference between India GST 2017 solution workflow and the 2020 workflow? So that we will cover. This is important to note because not both the solutions are eligible for everybody. So we will actually talk about the criteria as well as the changes or the differences in the flow. Now, one important thing that we have realized over a period of a couple of months here, that there are suppliers who are based in India and who wants to create invoices to or submit invoices to a foreign buyer, or there are these buyers and suppliers who are located in different states, or the supplier is located in a special economic zone. So all of those scenarios, how the invoices should be created using these two using 2020 solution is something that we are going to discuss in very briefly in one slide. uh, there are certain prerequisites that are to be followed for both buyers and the suppliers, that is important for this solution to work, that we will cover. And there are few one-time activities that needs to be performed. For example, setting up of charges and allowances. There are certain business rules which need to be set up. There are these currency related rules which needs to be configured as well. So all of those things we will cover as a part of the configuration. We will also see that in the demo also. Now in configuration, we also are seeing cases where there is a need for tax collected at source, and how they have to be configured, how they will be sent across to the tax authorities. Maybe in that in one of the invoices we will see that activity as well. So the first milestone that we are actually looking, or we have actually seen, is from October 1, the solution is available for the eligible suppliers with a turnover of more than 500 crores of rupees. And so this regulation is mandated, and the invoices have to be reported live. There was certain relaxation which was provided by the tax authorities, that the invoices could be created in as is way in the current manner that they are creating. However, the invoices have to be submitted to the tax authorities within a period of 1 month after creation, right? So that's what we are seeing. Uh, Apart from that, from January 1, 2021, the solution or the workflow or this particular regulation will be mandatory for those type of suppliers whose turnover is more than 100 crores. And from April 1, the workflow or this live reporting of invoices to the tax authorities will be mandatory for every supplier in India. Now, currently, because there is this type of restriction for the for the suppliers who whose turnover is more than 500 crores. So what they have to do for enabling this solution is to raise a service request with Ariba network, and we can actually enable that solution for those type of suppliers. For the remaining suppliers, the 2017 solution will continue to exist. This is very important aspect here, and the slide after this as well. And we wanted to actually show that, because again it came up as a request from different customers, saying what is the difference from the workflow point of view. So on the left side, you see that this particular solution or this particular workflow is applicable for those type of suppliers whose turnover is less than 500 crores, and this is the same as the 2017 tax regulations or the workflow that the tax authorities had suggested. So and on the right side, we have this little complicated workflow where the invoices have to be reported live to the tax authorities. But in both the cases, the complexity behind the scenes have been managed by Ariba network and its service provider, which is Trustweaver or Sovos. And what supplier has to do in both of these scenarios is to simply create the invoice with Ariba network, and submit the invoices to the submit the invoices. And whether the invoices have to be submitted directly to the tax authorities or to the to the buyer, that will be actually decided by the solution itself. Now when we look at the left side of it, there are entities where we have suppliers, there is buyer, and there is Trustweaver. Trustweaver is a service provider which we are using for the signature purpose of the invoices. So suppliers who they can create invoices on the SAP Ariba network, and these will contain some basic information about the invoice. It will also contain the India specific information such as the GST number of the buyer and the supplier, the place of supply, the the taxes, and things like that. and the invoices will actually be created in in triplicates, one for the recipient, one for the buyer, sorry, one for the supplier, which is the sender, and third for the transporter. So these invoices are also signed by the by the service provider here, which is Trustweaver. It is to ensure that the invoices are authentic, and there is no tampering on the invoices, and these invoices are submitted to the buyer. Now the reporting of the taxes would happen like on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis, depending on different scenarios, which could be done after the invoices were submitted. Now this was the flow that we had for 2017, or from 2017, and now also for suppliers with turnover less than 500 crores. On the right side, there are 5 entities, if you see, or 4 entities, if you see. There is a supplier, there is a buyer, there is a tax authority portal in between, which is the invoice registration portal, and then there is this GST portal. Now, what is mandated now is that every time a supplier creates an invoice, it has to be first reported to the tax authorities. Tax authorities or the IR invoice registration portal, or I will simply say IRB, will validate the invoice whether this is the unique invoice from this particular supplier. There is no duplicate of this invoice. There are validation of the taxes, that it is an interstate supply, so IGST is only applicable, or this particular line item requires 28 percentage of taxes. So validations like that will happen at the IRP level, and once these validations are successful, then there will be a 64-digit alphanumeric invoice reference number, or the IRN, that will be generated by the IRP. And after that, there will also be a QR code that will be generated, and invoice in a JSON format will be signed. Now, what will be so when we are actually looking at the tax invoices in both the scenarios, so on the left side, when we have the invoices, the PDF was used to be the tax invoice, whereas on the right side, the difference is the JSON, which is the tax invoice. So invoices have to be submitted in a JSON format, which is which is based on the schema that is provided by IRP. So schema in this case could be considered as a dictionary, which this JSON file has to refer, right? So if they are saying IRN, it would mean that in JSON the IRN would mean something in the dictionary that is provided by the tax authorities. Similarly, when there is a invoice reference number generated and attached to that invoice, this is the unique reference number that can be referred for any communication or anything that is associated with this particular invoice. The QR code can be used for generation of a QR image, and that QR image can be read by the tax inspector anywhere after the invoice creation, when the shipment is being done, or during audits, or any time after the invoice has been submitted to the buyer as well. There is also a human readable format of invoice that will be required, because normally for us, JSON format of invoice will not be much readable, or it is a little technical in nature. So there will also be a human readable format of invoice that will be available. Now, the activities which are associated with the receiving of the JSON file, the duplication check, the tax validation, or validation associated with exports, or deemed exports, or basic domestic supply, intrastate supplies. So all of those validation will actually be taken care of at the IRP level. Now, what Ariba network actually provides to the supplier is the part where the supplier need not worry about the creation of the JSON file, and it actually takes the feed from the suppliers, saying that, okay, you provide the invoice number, you provide the basic details of the line items, the taxes, and things like that, and the place of supply, and there are few more other things. In case of export, it would require a port code also. In case of a foreign buyer, it would require a GST number equal to unregistered person. So all of those details the supplier will have to provide in the invoice page. In the background, there will be a JSON created, or JSON file format that will be created and submitted to the IRP. What Ariba network will also do is, once the invoice has been successfully validated by the IRP, the Ariba network will actually create a human readable format of invoice, which is the invoice PDF. It will affix, a QR image there with the invoice. It will also, provide the invoice reference number, or the 64-digit number, unique number for that invoice that will be that is actually provided by the IRP. So this information will be submitted, to the buyer. Now, the buyer will receive a QR code file. He will also receive the signed JSON file. He will also receive a human readable format of invoice. And for the purpose of integration, the invoice, as usual, will also have will carry the CXML submitted to the buyer. So basically, a particular way in which the invoice details could be sent across to the buyer, so that the buying system can consume the invoice data and further carry out the process of reconciliation and matching and accounting. Now here, one thing to note is that the invoice registration portal actually keeps the invoice or invoice data for 24 hours. After that, the invoice details or invoice is not available in the IRP, but the invoices are actually submitted to the GST portal as a invoice storage. So here, all the invoices which have been successfully validated by the IRP are actually submitted to the GST portal and stored there. Now the purpose here is that uh, the invoices earlier which we used to provide or submit and keep it for the purpose of tax filing purposes, they all will be available in the GST portal from the time the invoice has been submitted to the GST portal itself. So that is one advantage here. The second part that that IRP does is to submit the invoice details to the e-way bill portal. So e-way bill portal also receives the invoice feed. The invoice data is also available in the e-way bill portal. So there are a lot of duplications, or the efforts which were required earlier. They are actually they will need not they will not to be performed now, right? So all of this information will be available in the GST portal and the e-way bill portal also. Now, when we look at this particular flow, or 2020 flow itself, you would see that there are these activities which actually is, from a supplier's point of view, he will have to simply click on or provide the details of the invoice, and he has to click on a button and say submit. Now if the invoices are successfully validated, the case that we have seen, that the invoices will actually flow into the buyer, it will be registered, and it will also be submitted or stored with the GST portal. But if the invoices actually fail because of any validation errors with the IRP, the invoices will be submitted back to the supplier saying that this invoice is rejected and you have to correct the invoice. There is a problem with the tax percentage is wrong, or this invoice already exists with the with the IRP. So those type of validation, hard validations, which stops the invoice from submitting to the GST portal, is actually done at the IRP level. There are these basic validations which actually is performed at the in Ariba network as well, where we say that now if you are if you are actually creating an export invoice, there is a port code that you have to provide, 6-digit port code that you need to provide. There is a there is a place of supply that you have to provide. In case the place of supply is not in India, then you have to provide others. So all of those validations which the which can actually or which will stop the invoices from being submitted or being successful at the IRP. Most of these validations are actually taken care of at the Ariba network level. But then there are these certain hard level of validation which are actually taken care of at the invoice registration portal itself. right? So we will we will talk about that in the live demo. Now,
Utpal, before we go to the scenarios, I think there are a few questions in the chat. So basically, I think Sneha has put a question: does the generated invoice from the IRP system is also to be digitally signed by the supplier?
mhm.
So
So now, there is no need of signing the invoices from the suppliers, because the tax invoice or the definition of tax invoice here is different. Now, the tax invoice for the purposes of any audits or verifying the invoice is actually going to be JSON file, and this is signed by the invoice registration portal itself. So we don't need to, or the suppliers should not actually be signing the invoices again. Now, but for the purpose of maintaining the authenticity and integrity of the invoice PDF that is generated at the Ariba network, so we will continue to sign the PDF invoices as a double check that okay, there is a signed JSON file, and then also there is an invoice PDF which we sign, so that if somebody tries to tamper with the invoice, somebody tries to change the invoice, it is immediately known to the recipient or to the supplier, right? So there is no need, in short, there is no need for the suppliers to sign the invoices.
yeah, okay.
So
This
in that
another.
case, you're saying that two type of invoices then supplier can actually upload. One is the PDF copy, which is digitally signed by them, and another one, the copy which is generated on IPR portal.
See, from if you look at it, from a regulation perspective, what invoice that the supplier has to submit to the buyer is only a signed invoice JSON. Okay, so
Okay.
that is the, and even earlier what the tax authorities mentioned was that they will be submitting that invoice to the buyers via email. But what they realized over a period of time was that the JSON is little technical in nature and not everybody will understand it. So what they are saying is that the generation of invoice from a JSON to a human readable format, now the responsibility actually lies with the supplier, and the supplier has to generate that invoice PDF and submit it to the buyer. Now what will your question can be divided into two parts. One is that the supplier who is not eligible for this live reporting of invoices, so in those cases they will have to continue to use the invoice PDF format. They don't have to submit their invoices to the IRP, and that is the point number one, right? And if the supplier is actually their turnover is more than 500 crores of rupees, so mandatorily they have to submit the invoices in JSON format to the tax authorities. So there is no way that the suppliers will can actually submit the invoices to the tax authority in a PDF format. Only the JSON file format is accepted by the tax authorities. Now the third part to your question is that if you're actually talking about the invoice upload from the supplier system to the buyer system, so basically it depends so basically what if you're looking at the submission of invoices to the buyer directly, then we are looking at this part where the invoice PDF should be submitted to the buyer, which is available. If you're using Ariba network, you can the invoices can be submitted to the buyer directly. Or if you're using some other system, you can actually create the invoices outside Ariba network and use the invoice PDF and the invoice JSON for submission to the buyer via Ariba network also.
So I'm actually my query was with regards to the flip invoicing only, because I'm from HCL. So our suppliers are actually we are going live very soon for the flip invoicing. So currently we have given them a training to upload their and as per our tax rules, we have given them a training to upload their signed PDF copies, digitally signed PDF copies. So once this new system will be in place, all the suppliers above 500 crores they can, I mean, instead of those PDF copies, they can attach the copies which are generated from IPR, I mean the JSON
Exactly. Yeah.
invoices. Okay.
Yeah, right. So they can
So,
do that.
so
In
I
fact,
have one more question. Is there any link, like, they have to log in or do whatever in IPR separately, and then they will create that invoice and manually, like the way they are manually upload, attaching as an attachment, they are attaching it in Flip invoicing. The same way they will be doing it for
Mhm.
JSON invoice as well.
No. So what the tax authorities have done for the purpose of security, they have not allowed the access of IRP to the end users. So only the IRP could be accessed by GST Suvidha provider. So GST Suvidha providers are the service providers which is approved by the government and approved from the security perspective as well. That only these few service providers can actually integrate with the or can actually report the invoices to IRP. So any supplier who has to submit the invoices, they cannot directly log into IRP. They have to do it via a application service provider, ASP, or a GST Suvidha provider, GSP.
And
Right
from
now,
there only they will get the invoice copy, the JSON
correct,
invoice copy.
correct,
Okay.
correct,
Okay.
correct. Now, but if you are using Ariba network, for example, and I'm not saying that you have to use Ariba network. I'm just in general, I'm saying that if you're using any application or application like Ariba network, so that complexity of creating a JSON or or submitting the invoices in another format, you don't have to do that. You have to simply create the invoices as you have been creating so far, and simply submit that. The conversion of that invoice to a JSON format and submission to the tax authorities, all of that will be actually taken care of by that application or by, say, Ariba network in this case.
So that was what my question is. So they don't have to do it separately. Somehow Ariba will be linked with this software, with
Yeah,
this
right.
new
So,
portal.
right. So we have actually tied up for almost every country. We have tied up with Sovos, which is the service provider. And service provider is, they have this particular service provider is using GSP, which is approved, called IRIS, and that IRIS actually integrates with the IRP, right? So if your question is about that, so yes, from Ariba network, you simply submit that invoice, and the invoice will be submitted to the IRP, to the GST portal, and all of those activities will happen in the background.
All right, okay. But how the system will identify which supplier is above 500?
Yeah, right. So if you look at so there are that I'll actually go to this part. Yeah. So when there is a supplier who is whose turnover is more than 500 crores of rupees right now, what we are telling those type of suppliers is that you have to enable the feature. We are giving the feature ID as well. You have to send a request for enabling this particular feature. Now, once the feature is enabled, and it does not take much time, immediately it can be enabled, turned on basically. So those type of suppliers, their invoices will automatically be routed to IRP. Other suppliers whose turnover is less than 500 crores of rupees, they don't have to worry about this part of enabling the feature and things like that. So their invoices will continue to be flowed from to the to the buyer directly, right? So the identification that the suppliers turnover in the last year, last financial year, is more than 500 crores of rupees is something which the supplier would know. And in fact, we have also checked that the suppliers whose turnover is less, they are not even allowed to create or carry out the next step with the IRP. For example, I tried to create one credential for a particular supplier whose turnover was less than 500 crores of rupees. I got a message that you are not eligible to do it, right? So basically, it's a supplier's responsibility to ensure that his turnover is more than 500 crores, and that's why he requires to enable the or basically send us a request to enable the feature NP 20207.
Okay, how they will send this request? Is it through the service request which they raise it from the portal, or they have some? Is there any email ID whom they have to connect
So
with?
they have to actually raise a service request, and they have to provide the ANID for which they want to enable this. So ideal, if you look at the recommended ways to actually, uh, enable it for the test account first, and then proceed with the production account, right? So, but yeah, they have to create a service request for that.
Okay, so you're suggesting me like if I have my 400 supplier, India supplier, so all of them has to go by the test environment first and then to the production environment, or I can do it the testing for one or two suppliers, or maybe I have some test environment. I mean, within my company, I have a test environment. So can I do a testing and then I can recommend it to the suppliers?
Yes, so I would actually recommend that you, since you already have the test environment and you have the credentials for using the new flow, so you can actually, use your test account for that purpose.
All right.
And
Okay.
then
No,
after
for
that,
the test account, I don't have, but I can ask my Ariba team. I mean, we have some dedicated Ariba team
Mhm.
aligned with HCL.
All
So I
right.
can ask them to activate the same feature for our test
Mhm.
environment, because going back to 300 supplier asking them to do a
Mhm.
testing one by one will be a pain, because,
Yeah, yeah, right.
screen share is also not possible.
Right, right. So see, also these 300 suppliers, are they all above 500 crores of turnover?
No, not all, and that's the another exercise which we will do. I think we have already enrolled them on Ariba. They have their ANIDs. So, and
Mhm.
I think we have to go back to them and ask about this query. And after that, only the suppliers, wherein we will find that they have 500 crores above turnover,
Mhm.
or maybe after January 100 crores turnover above, then we will ask them to go for with this feature. But we will be doing this testing. I mean, we plan to do the testing now. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, sure. So I think that is a good idea. And what you can do is you can also create a service request on behalf of those select few suppliers after you have
okay.
completed your testing internally.
Hmm.
And then you can say that, for these 4 or 5 suppliers whose turnover is more than 500 crores of rupees, you
Hmm.
enable the solution for or the feature for them, and then proceed with the testing, right? So
So you mean
they
to
will
say
also.
I can
Uh-huh.
raise a
Mhm.
combined support ticket,
Yes,
like I have?
yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. So that will be a better idea instead of going one by one.
All right, okay. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Yeah, Utpal, if
Hmm.
you have time, we'll take
Yeah,
one
yeah,
more
sure.
question. Is this
Yeah.
solution only for the output, or we have the solution on the input side also? Looks like this is one of the question from the participant. So
Hmm.
probably like I would let whoever has raised it. Can you just brief this question, please, so that we can take it accordingly?
So I think the let me just take a guess on the type of question that it may be. That
Mhm.
when we are looking at this particular solution, this is actually from the input side of it. When I say input, it means that the supplier who is providing the details. So it is not for the buyers on behalf of the suppliers. So only the suppliers can actually raise an invoice, and nobody else can raise an invoice, at least now from this flow. Nobody else can raise the invoice on behalf of the supplier. So this solution is available only for the from the supplier end, and that's why we are asking for to the suppliers to enable this feature, and it is not it need not be enabled for the buyers, right?
Mm.
So that is one part. The second thing is that in some cases quite possible that the invoices are actually received by the buyers in a PDF format, but the invoices have been submitted by the supplier to the tax authorities, and they have got a 64 digit alphanumeric IRN. So in such cases, the buyers can also, using the P2P system, they can actually create the invoice, or they can regenerate the invoice into P2P or Ariba P2P or any other P2P solution that they have, right? So that can also be done. Only thing that they have to make sure is to attach the invoice PDF, and also if the supplier is providing an invoice JSON, they also should be attaching it with them for the future reference purposes and for any audits and any disputes in the future, right? So but yeah, for simple solution, simple answer to your question is that the solution is available for the supplier, which means the input, which in my opinion, it is the input. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, how the invoice cancellation process will be working in this case?
Yeah, see, actually, what we have realized is that from a IRP perspective, they, so invoices are actually available in the IRP only for a purpose, only for a period of, 24 hours. And during that time, it may not even be decided that the invoice could be cancelled. Now, certain basic checks, which is, about duplication and other things, which are the basic causes of invoice cancellation, could be taken care of, immediately. But the cancellation of invoice could or should be making use of the credit memo workflow, which is also supported as a part of this solution. So the supplier can actually create a line item credit memo and credit the entire invoice amount, so that the invoice could actually be effectively cancelled at the IRP.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we don't have any additional questions. We can
All right.
move with the
So
deck.
stop me in between if there are some questions. We can actually talk about that.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
one important thing, I will not, go into the prerequisites and for the suppliers and buyer, because we have less time. I think we will cover it during the demo itself. Just one part that, this will be one of, this has been, one of the questions that has been coming up frequently. So we have actually,
Utpal, this is Abhishek here.
yeah, Abhishek.
Yeah, so I have one question regarding that invoice cancellation only, and if you can make it more brief. So let's say we are using some, some workflow solutions like Vim and all at the back end, right, in SAP. So which is integrated with Ariba, and due to some data issue or any other reasons, we rejected the invoice from SAP side. So in usual scenario, what we see that the invoice gets set as rejected or cancelled, right? So in case of IRN generated invoices, how it will?
Yeah, so in those cases, so there are, I was actually coming to that you could, you could create or you could actually, go to the GST portal also, and you can cancel the invoice from the GST portal also. So currently, for a cancellation purpose, in Ariba network, there is no flow for cancellation to IRP. So the supplier will have to actually, log into the GST portal, look for that particular invoice and cancel it from there itself.
So, Upal, I think I have a question here. I also wanted to have a clarity on this. When we say cancellation, I'm referring to a rectification. Like suppose a supplier submit one invoice. Currently, how they do it, they upload an invoice, and if it is incorrect, maybe they have incorrectly mentioned the amount or GST or anything. So what they do is they raise a credit note and then resubmit the correct invoice. So in future, since they are doing it from the other portal, it's actually linked with the other portal. So is it not like this, that if they generate a credit note, because they're that act, you said that it can be activated on their system, on their Ariba system. So the moment they generate an invoice, that will be linked to the new ERP, and once they will create a credit note, that will also be linked to the same ERP, and then they can create a correct invoice.
Yeah, see, basically, line item credit memo or credit memo itself is a correction, right? So once the line item credit memo with the with the revised taxes is submitted against that invoice, that will be registered with the IRP, and the same credit memo will also flow into the ERP. So you will have a original invoice, and then you have a credit memo which will also act as a correction.
And it's only for the line item credit note, not the header credit note.
That's correct. So header credit memo, currently it is not supported by the tax authorities yet for this workflow.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So I will just cover this particular slide in brief, maybe in a few seconds. So first condition is that the supplier's turnover is more than 500 crores of rupees, and the supplier's location is a non-SEZ location. In those cases, whether the buyer location is in India or a foreign or a domestic, whether it's considered to be a deemed export. So in all of these cases, the invoices need to be submitted to the tax authorities or the tax portal or the IRP. Now, in those cases where the supplier is actually located in a SEZ, which is an indicator in in Ariba network suppliers profile. So in those cases, the invoices need not be submitted to the tax authorities, and it has to be submitted to the buyers directly. Suppliers whose turnover is less than 500 crores, anyways, they have to follow the 2017 regulations, and they do not need to submit the invoices to the IRP. So the system will actually take care of, depending on the flag that the supplier will be setting, and he will say that, I want to submit my invoices to the tax authorities. Then only, this flow will be activated. And even after that also, the the submission of this invoices will also dependent on different condition, like it is mentioned here: the supplier location, the buyer location, and the type of invoice, right? So there's a new type of invoice field which has been introduced now in the invoice, which will actually also determine whether the invoices should be submitted to the tax authorities or it has to be submitted to the buyer directly, right? So I think we will actually look at this from the from the demo itself, right? So first thing that I'm going to do is I'm here in the production portal for the suppliers, and I have my test credentials here. I log in here. There is a, so you would see that normal from a supplier's point of view, the supplier's inbox, outbox, and other things which are displayed. Now, a few invoices that we have already created right from, September 26. A lot of these invoices are there, which we try to test, and then we created. One of these invoices, I actually kept it in draft just before this particular meeting. Let me open that, and that will save us some time. Okay, so this particular invoice I created today only around 2 o'clock, and I kept it in draft. I wanted to actually show this to you. Let me just go back to the previous page. This is the submission page, but let me just go back to the previous page. So basic details of the invoices will remain the same. We have the summary, we have the header information, all the basic details of the invoice. Now here we have, the supplier's registered address or the Indian address. So the supplier could have different addresses in different countries. Now this is the Indian address that this supplier has, created. This is coming from the legal profile or the supplier's profile page. From profile,
So if profile is not set up, see, I mean, sorry to cut you in between. Here, in HCL, how we configured as per the configuration part of our online invoicing for the flip, that this information will be picked from the PO itself, whatever is being taken on the PO. So I hope that will not be a problem.
Yeah, so if the invoices, basically if the supplier details are provided in the purchase order in the right, tags, then I believe the the address details of the suppliers are flipped over from the purchase order to the invoice.
Right,
So you don't have
right.
to do anything there.
Okay.
But what happens here is that according to this, you also, I don't know if you're actually doing these type of things. For example, you are also submitting the supplier's GSTIN, supplier address apart from the supplier address, or the type of supplier, because this is now a mandatory information as per the new regulations.
So actually these two fields are not visible, and that's what our query was. And after that, we are routed to this session. So once this configuration is set up on the supplier, the one we talked about, that we can raise a service request, these options will be visible to the suppliers, these tabs which you can see here, because
Yep.
this right now it is not visible, to us.
Yeah, right. So the reason there is that, these are new fields, and they are applicable only for the new regulations, and that's why you won't see those fields.
But this will be active once they will get this
Correct.
activated. Okay.
Yeah, right. Similarly, from from the buyer side, so for example, HCL or for any other company, so you have these, buyer's address, which can be, provided here. Let's copy this here, and all of these details will be filled in. Now then there are, I will come back to this type of supply. This one will take a few minutes there. the basic details of the line items. I'm just, I put something which is from the, from the government API portal. They have provided some examples. So I picked up all the values from there. Now there is an integrated, tags, because this is an interstate scenario. There are some, cess which they have mentioned in the example. So I provided some cess as well. They also, this text collected at source was coming from different customers. So, I added this as an additional item here. One important thing is the classification, which is the HSN SSC code. And because this particular identifier is required to know whether the tax percentage is correct or not, right? So, so this classification will also be available mandatorily, or will have to be required mandatorily by the supplier for each line item. So for one particular case, I have, put one material here, and for the next line item, I have used the service, and with a different HSN code with different types of, some of the information there, a different HSN code, and then I actually would submit the invoice. But before that, I would actually, explain about this part. So there are these new, fields or new information which is required by the tax authorities, because using this, they want to assess that, okay, this is, this is a particular domestic scenario, business to business type of a scenario, and particular type of tax will only be applicable, only IGST, or because it's an export scenario, or IGST will be applicable, or it is a interstate or intrastate scenario, so a particular type of tax will be available. And if it is an export, then they will look for, the customer's address or the buyer's address which is not in India. So all of those things they are going to check with the help of this particular field. So for example, I will just, take this particular example where I am saying that it is an export scenario. Now in this case, there is a port code which is being which is required. There is a there is a buyer's GST number which is unregistered person, which is to be mandatorily provided, like we have seen in normal cases. If a buyer is not in India, then we don't need to provide this, but now, since in this particular regulation, we have to provide this mandatorily. So from a schema perspective, we have to definitely provide the customer GSTIN, either the domestic GSTIN, or if it is not present, then the URP has to be provided. Similarly, since it is identified as an export type of a scenario, so there is a port code that is required. Now, the list of port code is also, updated by the tax authorities in their portal, and they keep on updating as and when, there are new updates there, right? So let me just, go back to the business to business type of a basic scenario where we have interstate, supplies, and I'm going to, submit this invoice. Few more things that that we have to actually take care of is, the schema is very strict. So what we realized was that if it is a if the schema actually requires certain information, they have to be provided only in the specified way. And if it is IGST, we cannot say it is integrated GST. If we send integrated GST as one of the tax categories, IRP will not recognize it, and it will fail, saying that the tax is invalid. So we have to be very careful here, and we have actually listed it down in the in the presentation also. There are a lot of slides in that where we have actually provided what all things, do's and don'ts, basically, to inform that we have to be very careful here, because the moment we actually say something else, for example, if we put some other tax here, or if we provide the TCS as a tax, the tax authorities currently it's not accepting that. So basically, it should follow the dictionary exactly what is provided by the tax authorities. So the guidelines will be provided here. Most of the values will be provided in the drop down, or they will be available here. But certain things we have to take care of when we are configuring it with the help of Ariba consultants or any other consultants. We have to just make sure that the configurations are exactly as per the details which is provided in the presentation. So we will share the presentation as well, which will have all these details, right? So after this, I'm going to submit this invoice to the tax authorities.
Integrated text will be acceptable, right?
Yeah, so I will
Category.
actually so I will actually tell about that what type of configurations have to be done. For example, in this particular case, there is a if you look at here, right, this is the configuration window for the for the buyer. Now, from a configuration point of view, there are certain tax categories that we have provided here. Now, state GST, central GST, integrated GST, but in the background, what we are sending to the tax authorities is IGST, CGST, and sorry, SGST, CGST, and IGST, right? So we will provide this information to you so that when you are configuring, you configure it, in a correct way. I will tell you
As of
also.
now, actually, it is configured as CGST, SGST, and IGST. So these are the three categories which we are using. So I'm just
Correct.
concerned that if there is, so these three will be acceptable.
Correct. So India specific taxes, integrated GST, state GST, and CGST or central GST, they will be acceptable. Yes.
Okay, one more thing, you're showing this text codes on the line item, just like the credit note not acceptable at the header level. Our text codes in HCL, we have a text code at header level only. We are not allowing it on a line level. So header level text code will be acceptable at the new portal on the government portal, or will that be a problem?
No, unfortunately, no. So that is not acceptable. So what they are actually saying is that if there is a, there is a line item, tax authorities want to know that for that particular line item, what is the tax percentage that you have actually suggested, or what you are providing, or what the supplier is providing. So which means that every time you are creating an invoice, you have to make sure that the taxes are at the line item level and header level taxes are not accepted by the IRP. Okay. So if you look
Okay.
at the previous example also, what we did was, and this is a JSON which is, which we have received from the tax authorities. There is a IR number, for example. There are these total amounts, discount, line item. All of these details are there. We send the material from Udaipur to Bangalore. So all of those things we actually provided. But if you look at the the GST and so what it says is that there is an item number 0, there is a serial number, it is a service, there is a HSN code associated with it, and there will be a tax percentage that is associated with it. For example, there is a tax percentage of 12% for this particular type of HSN code. So you have to provide it at the line item level only. Now, if you provide it at the header level and you have two different line item, one with HSN code which has a tax percentage of 12, and another line item which has a tax percentage of 28, so the tax authority will not be able to know that the taxes are correct or not, and they will reject that invoice.
But if in case any invoice, or any invoice submitted by the supplier, wherein if there are four lines, but for all the four lines, the text code is same. Suppose I have four lines of 100 each,
Mhm.
and then my text percentage is 10% for all the four lines, and that is IGST. So
Mhm.
can't I select at the header level IGST and 10% tax rate? Will that
Uh,
be acceptable?
that will not be acceptable because that is not actually accepted by the IRP itself.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it has to be at the line item level.
All right. Okay.
All right. So let me just, I had submitted one invoice. TCS, yes, this is the one. So the invoices are actually submitted and then they are actually sent across to the tax authority. I'll show you the history of that. It was submitted earlier. Now, so it actually, it was sent to the IRP and it was sent on 1st of October, for example. After that, the signature was applied, for example, to the JSON file and all of that, and the document was added to the pending queue for download for the buyers. So all of these details are available here. But if you look at this invoice, what we did was we actually got the QR code. We actually converted into a QR image, and we have provided that as an attachment here. The other details, for example, the invoice reference number or the IRN, which is a 64-digit number, it has been provided here. Again, it has come from the tax authorities. There are these different files. So if you remember, right, when we are submitting the invoices to the tax authorities, we did not submit anything. But from the tax authorities, we got, some information back. We got a signed JSON file. We got a QR code file. We got a original invoice duplicate and triplicate PDF of invoice. So all of these invoices we actually got from the tax authorities. So let me just download them and show how they will actually look like. So this is the invoice PDF that we have actually generated. using the information which we got. For example, there is a, there is this QR image, and then there are, buyers and suppliers details. There are these, line items. I had used agricultural stocks there, and in this particular line item, I whatever information, whatever example that they had given of rice, I use that, and I use a very different type of item here, consulting. Both will not go together, but yeah, I just used it for the purpose of testing and for seeing the variety there. The invoice reference number. So all of these details is actually available in the invoice PDF, which is the human readable format. But if you look at these QR code and the signed JSON, right? Let me just open it in this folder, right? Okay, so this is that particular file which is not readable for us. The second one is the JSON file. Again, let me just open it here. It is also not readable. So we decoded this file, and so here is this invoice JSON. So after decoding, this is how we actually see that data, which is obtained from the tax authorities. So there are, this is as per the dictionary which they have provided. So they are actually calling IRN, they are calling the, ADDR1 for address, and all of those details, right? So there is a serial number, then there are, whether it's a service or a material, HSN code. So all of these details, it is available in the JSON. They actually provide a encoded JSON file in a format which normally we cannot read. We decoded it, and this is how the information that we have sent earlier will be available. Now, similarly, the QR code, again, this actually comes up in this particular format which we have used to generate the QR code. Now, when we are looking at this particular details here, what is actually required from the supplier's point of view, because all of this information will require certain configurations for the suppliers. So for example, this particular case where we have this supplier, we just see whom.
Other than these coded files, this invoice image, the invoice image which is generated, that will contain every number, right? The barcode and the
Exactly, yes, yes,
all
yes,
other numbers. Okay.
yes, correct, correct.
So there are three attachments. Oh, sorry, four attachments.
In fact, there are 5 attachments. So
One
basically
is
what
for
we are,
the invoice generated, one is for the QR, then JSON image, and what are
so
the
there are
other
PDF
two?
files. So basically there are these 3 PDF files. So we have kept it as it is, that, if you want to use the invoice PDFs, one for the buyer, other for the supplier, and other for the transporter, you can still use it. So for example, here, right? So here, if you see, I will go to the attachments, and in the attachments, you will see that there are, yeah, so there are these 5 attachments. These 3 are PDFs where we
Okay.
have the invoice original, duplicate, triplicate, and then there is a invoice JSON file, and then there is
And
a QR code.
barcode, a
Yeah.
QR code, right? Okay.
So all of that will be there. So let me just download the triplicate one. So basically, the triplicate one is available for the assessee. So this is
So
what.
it's actually the invoice only which for which we have three PDFs, the duplicate and the
Yes, yes.
triplicate.
Only difference in these 3 invoices is this particular label, that
Okay.
for whom this is meant. But all of these are actually sent to the buyer.
Okay. And at the time of flip, if supplier attach one more attachment, like when you have submitted the invoice as the digitally signed invoice copy, then
Mhm.
it will have 6 attachments.
Correct, correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Now after this, I just wanted to tell, from a supplier's point of view, that whose turnover is more than 500 crores of rupees. So what basically they have to do is to create a legal profile. So in this particular case, I have created a legal profile. I'll just edit that, and I will show this to you. So this is the information that this is additional information that the supplier has to provide. Let me just change it. Okay, so for example, this supplier is actually located in Rajasthan, and this particular supplier is turnover is more than 500 crores of rupees. So normally, those type of suppliers will actually see these two more options or three options or three text box. For example, there is a GST username, there is a GST password, and there is an administrator email. So this information is required for the creation of the profile and submission of the invoices. Now I have this GSTIN, and it is should be okay. Let me just try this. So this particular GST number 08 for Rajasthan. So all of those details. Now the GST username and password. So there are a couple of things that we have to actually take care of here. In case of production accounts, the supplier will have to actually log into the GST portal and request for this credentials. Now this is not the GST credential, it is for the submission of invoices to the tax authorities, and the steps to obtain those credential is actually mentioned in the presentation. So I will just quickly show you that where they are mentioned. So how the supplier can obtain the GST credential for online submission of invoices. So there are these steps which they have to follow to obtain this credential for production accounts. Now for other cases where the suppliers are suppliers are not or basically they have to use the test credentials. So we will actually get back to you on this particular part where which type of credential that these type of suppliers will have to use. Now if you have the test credentials already, you can actually make use of that, because using of the production credential is prohibited on the test accounts, right? So you should not be submitting the invoices using your production accounts, or sorry, using the production credential, because these invoices will be reported to the tax authorities, right? Right now the check is that if you are using the dash T account or the test account on the Ariba network, then in those cases you will the invoices will be routed to the tax authorities test instance only, so you don't need to worry about it. But for in case of production, you will have to make use of the production credentials only. Now the reason is that when the invoices are submitted to the IR portal, then in those cases only the suppliers who are authorized to submit the invoices to the tax authorities or to the IRP, only their credential will be used for submission of the invoices to the tax authorities only. Other users who has who have got the credentials, they cannot or should not actually submit the invoices on behalf of another company, right? So that's why this username and password is important here and has to be provided, so that the invoices for the right supplier from the right supplier is submitted to the IRP with the right GSTIN, right? So basically it has to be the invoice from the same supplier or the correct invoice corresponding to the same supplier, right? So that is the thing here. Now
And this is a
we
one-time activity. They can generate user ID and password, and then they can update this in their profile. Is this a one-time activity for supplier, or every time with the before invoicing they have to add the user ID and password?
no, so this particular activity is a one-time activity where the suppliers have to they don't have to do it every time for every invoice. Supplier this particular legal profile or profile is only visible to the administrator. Normal invoice creator will not be even seeing it, because then there are chances of somebody stealing the user IDs and password.
Mm-hmm.
The suppliers admin will actually set this up, and then after that for every invoice these credentials will be used, but nobody will have to enter it again. So it is a one time activity.
And this last admin email ID, this is the admin email ID of the ANID account only, right? The supplier,
Yeah, so the
whosoever is the admin
administrator,
of. Mhm.
correct. So the system admin or the admin, he can provide his email ID for the purpose of registration. Yes.
Okay, okay, thank you.
All right, so this is the configuration that needs to be done by the supplier, and this is actually visible only to those type of suppliers whose turnover is more than 500 crores of rupees, and they have enabled the feature, right? So the current suppliers, the supplier whose turnover is less than 500 crores, or if they have not enabled the feature, the current mechanism of invoicing will continue, where they have to report the invoices to the buyer directly. Ariba network will simply create 3 copies of invoice PDF. There will not be any JSON, or there will not be any QR code invoices, QR code files, or any other things, right? So it will be a usual process then for them. Now, this is the supplier side of it. Now let me just quickly go to the buyer side. From a buyer's point of view, I know that the Ariba consultants, they will be actually setting it up, or they can help you set this up for you. But just to give you a brief about this information, I don't know some okay happened. Okay, sorry, this is the supplier.
Yeah, this is supplier portal.
I'm just trying to log in with the wrong ID. Okay, so so in this particular buyer side, I'm switching on to the test account. Now, in case of test account, let the page come in. So there are certain things that has to be done. So for example, I was talking to you about the tax configurations. So in case of India, I'm going to the country-based invoice rules. I can set up multiple things here, but mostly I will talk about the configuration part of taxes. So when I'm actually looking at the taxes here, I create a lot of taxes here. So what basically, to answer the question which was asked earlier, that there are these India specific taxes, for example, central GST, integrated state, and so duty GST is not allowed anymore. Now, so these type of taxes have to be actually provided, and corresponding to that, you can provide any description to that. But the tax category has to be one of these. Now, when we are doing that, and also when we are configuring different types of tax percentage for that, the supplier will be, and you can say that the supplier can already select this. But if you are providing this in the purchase orders also, exactly with the same type of tax categories, then also you will be able to, the invoices will also, go through. You don't need to make any changes, or the supplier need not make any changes here as well. If you are asking your suppliers to copy, or if you're asking the system to copy the taxes from purchase orders to invoices, so that will be an automatic activity, and the information from the purchase order will be submitted to the will be used in the invoices. Now, one thing that again, for the interest of this is this group, just to tell you, because you can actually read through this, but there are few invoices that we have actually provided here, and signed QR code XML. Let me. Oh, there is an integration section. There's a small section at the end. So here, if you look at the the sample invoice, let me just open it. So what basically I wanted to tell was that if you look at this particular invoice document as a guide, then you would actually look at, you would be able to see that there are different types of taxes. For example, in case of this particular invoice, I must have added some tax. Yeah, right. So when you are actually providing the tax details in your purchase order, the category that you have to provide is IGST, right? So once you provide that as IGST, it will be flipped over to the invoice, and then it is submitted with the right type of category. Now, assuming that instead of category, I say here integrated GST, right? So this is something that will not be recognized by the IRP, and it will fail the invoice, right? So we have to be actually careful here to provide the right type of information there. Now, to guide also to guide you with the details, there are some information which is also available here. Okay, so there is a JSON schema file here. JSON schema. So it actually will tell, what type of information, or this is the dictionary that we have that we are using for the purpose of identifying the different types of items. For example, when I say business to business, there, in the JSON or in the dictionary, it is mentioned as B2B. In case of deemed export, it is mentioned as DEXP, right? If it is SEZ without pay or with pay, it is also mentioned here. Similarly, if you look at GST, IGST, so they would also be mentioned in a particular way. So, for example, it says IGST amount, so the amount which is associated with it, and let me just, there is something else. So there are two parts here. One is at the once we are aggregating all the IGST values, so it will be it is a total IGST value of all the items, or if it is the IGST at each item level, they are mentioned as IGST AMT amount, right? And also for also for there is a GST rate which is associated with each of the each of the line items. So there is a IGST amount that is also available here, right? So IGST amount of IGST payable, and that would be applicable for a particular line item level, right? So that is also mentioned here. Now what we used was we used different types of scenarios, but at the same time there are certain samples that they have provided. So this is the sample that they have provided, and this is the maybe we can share this link of the portal also. And there are some steps provided for for generating the credentials for the test account, for the production account. So all of this detail is available on the government portal itself, and we will also be providing it in our presentation, or as a separate information, right? Now coming back to,
Utpal, quick time check. We have 15 more minutes for
yeah,
this
sure.
part.
So I think we are just we are completing this part,
Okay.
and I think we should be able to do it. Yeah, okay. So here we have these different types of taxes, uh, which can be configured for percentage, and we can say that, okay, these type of taxes only the supplier should be able to select. Other type of thing, let me just go to the default transaction rules. There are cases where we have seen that for example, charges and allowances is one of the area of interest now, because what surprisingly, the schema is actually accepting the tax collected as source as other charges right now. So they are not actually using or allowing the TCS as a tax component. So that is very surprising, but that is the current situation, and we are actually following that. Now there could be other cess, or there could be other charges which could be provided, and the configuration that has been provided, you can actually follow the same type of configuration, so that if there are state level cess, or if there is central cess, or if there are other type of charges, you could report it, or you could actually configure it in your in the buyer side, like this, right? Or if you want, actually you can also provide it in the purchase order with exactly the same type of code. So this, I will just call it as a code, just so that to differentiate between the service code or the charge code and the charge name, right? So that's going to be there. This is also mentioned in the presentation, which will cover. Now another part, that if you want to allow suppliers to create invoices from scratch, and not from purchase orders, you could also create certain basic information in the profile. For example, you have for your address, this is the buyer's address, where you have, when you are providing the address, the GST ID is compared, and if I provide something wrong, so basically it will say that the GST ID is incorrect, right? So you need to provide exactly the right value here. So this is basically a validation check. It is not the check that we are doing currently from the text website or anywhere. It is the responsibility of the buyer and the supplier to provide the right type of GST ID. Now, one good thing here, from this entire process is that if your supplier is actually providing you the invoices, those invoices are validated and verified by the tax authorities. So you could always be sure that the invoices that are reaching to you has the right type of data. It is coming from the authorized supplier, authorized source only, and the GST number that he has provided is in fact correct. Because if a GST number is incorrect, or the GST number does not belong to this supplier, then the tax authorities will reject those type of invoices, right? So the invoice data that you will be getting, the PDF and the JSON, all of those details that you will be getting via this new workflow, you will be getting authentic invoices from authentic suppliers with right type of GST numbers and right type of taxes, right? So this is a good thing about the new regulations, right? So
Utpal, would you also like to cover the credit memo process or the debit memo process?
mhm. Yeah, right. So we actually, created some credit and the debit memo earlier, and we have, I think we have shown it here also in the presentation. I will look for that. If that is not there, we can probably add that. But from the point of view of the changes to the invoices, you can always, you can always do that using that credit memo. So let me just see if there is something already created. So we have been testing it using this particular account, and we would have created some credit memos also. Okay, so just see. Okay, the document type. Okay, something from the 26th. Yeah. So yeah, so from a line item credit memo perspective, yes. So see, basically it has the reference to the to the older invoice, and that is required. So the current solution also supports the line item credit memo and the debit memo associated with the invoice. And this line item credit memo and debit memo is also accepted by the tax authorities, right? So they provide the QR code and the JSON file associated with this credit memo also. So in this particular case, we had created one particular invoice, and then we wanted to revert it back completely. So we changed that particular invoice. We completely credited that invoice, and then the total invoice value should be now 0, right? So this is what we had created, and associated with this, we have this signed JSON file which we have got the QR code and the original credit memo associated with the submission. Okay, so this was the line item credit memo, and this was created. The same, all the information which is there on the invoice, which is actually there. Now, from this point, the process is actually the same. There is no difference there when we are actually creating the credit memo versus the in the normal scenarios. So I am just looking at this. I create a credit memo. I can say that, and I want a quantity adjustment or a price adjustment. All of that I can do. Let me just create one very quickly. 4. So I can actually change the quantity. Here I can say that my quantity is only 10, and all of that information I simply need to update. Maybe I'll call it 1 only, and I will submit this credit memo for a credit of 10 quantity and 1 quantity, respectively, for line item 1 and 2, right? So this is going to go to the tax authorities. So the supported process in the new solution is the credit memo, debit memo, and the invoices, and both they are at the line item level. So header level credit memo or header level taxes, so they are not actually allowed by the tax authorities. All right, so I think we have covered the presentation and the demo. If there are any questions, we can actually discuss now also.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Utpal. So we'll keep it open for questions. We have 8 more minutes. So from the participants, do you have any questions for Utpal?
Utpal, I have one question. That's basically with regards to the configuration. So I know there's a configuration in the BIOS system. So I just want to know, see, because with HCL, we have this text part at a header level. So if we, like, suppose if we have 300 suppliers, Indian suppliers, out of 300, if my Indian supplier, 150 Indian supplier, 50% of my suppliers are above this threshold limit of 500 above GST. Sorry, turnover. So for those suppliers, I can activate the services through a support ticket. So can't on the basis of, is there any possibility on the basis of this, the activation which we have done, can we put any validation, any configuration is there that we can do that only for these 150 suppliers, the line level text code will be, can be set up for the in the configuration only for at a supplier level.
Yeah, right. So, see, what you can do is when you're talking to the Ariba consultant, you can ask them to actually create the group of these suppliers. So there is a supplier
Okay.
group concept, and you
Mm-hmm.
can apply specific rules to this group. So which
All
will
right.
force them to create, or which will force them to provide the taxes at the line item level only.
Okay. So we okay. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks. Okay, I have one more question. Sorry.
Sure.
So, if you told that GST number, so there is one GST number which is actually updated on a supplier profile, which I have seen that they updated the
Mhm.
while they set up their profile, and at the time of invoicing, there is an option to fill in the GST number. So, if they fill the wrong GST number at when they are flipping the invoice, and whatever
Mhm.
is being submitted in whatever is being updated on their profile, still the system will allow, I mean, is that invoice will fail in the flip invoicing within that system only, in Ariba, within Ariba, or will that fail at IRP system?
See, there are two things, right? I think if the state of the supplier and the GSTIN which is provided by the supplier, they or basically the GSTIN of the supplier matches with with the state code of the supplier, then in that case the invoice will actually go through and it will fail at the IRP if the GST number itself is wrong. But if the state code of that particular supplier and the GST number do not match, so for example, for Rajasthan the 08 is the prefix. Now if somebody provides 09 as the GST number, whereas he maintains the address as Rajasthan, in that case it should actually stop the user from creating or submitting the invoices from Ariba network itself, because the address and the GSTIN won't match.
And that is based on this configuration also, which you have shown, on which they are creating the ID and the password.
Yes. See, basically, they actually provide the GST number in the profile. So, that is pre-populated in the invoice page. Now, but if for some reasons that GST number is different and it is not matching with the state code, then I believe the invoice should actually stop at the invoice submission level. I will still check that part, and I will probably I can reply back separately on that.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
But it is for sure that the IRP, when this invoice actually goes to the IRP, and if the GST number itself is invalid, for example, the format is correct and everything is fine, but the GST number does not exist in the GST portal, then the IRP will reject that invoice, saying that it is an invalid GST number. So the invoices that you as a buyer will be receiving will have a clean information, will have the authentic information.
And to get it and to make it available in GST portal is the same process which you have shown, that they have to register and make a user ID and password.
Yes. So normally the suppliers and the buyers who have the GST ID, they already have the GST registration information. But apart from that, there is one more process that the tax authorities want us to follow, is to create a credential only for submission of invoices. Right. So that has been actually mentioned in one of the slides here, as to how do we create that credential. So GST credential is one thing, and for invoice submission there is one credential which we have seen in the legal profile, so that has to be provided. So GST credential need not be provided in the legal profile, but the credential which is required for invoice submission has to be provided in the legal profile. Yeah, so does it sound confusing?
No, 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 it is not. I'll go through the recording as well once again.
Yeah, sure, sure.
So
In
hi,
fact, we will share this. Yeah, please go ahead.
hi, Amit here. One question from my side is, so is there a support desk that would be facilitating the any type of queries when vendor is trying to register or try to enroll for the GST invoice procedure? Because it's not for all the vendors, but those vendors for whom the profile has to be created or other activity has to be conducted. So is there a support desk for it?
Which for which process you are looking for support? For example, there are two processes, right? One is for the creation of the GST credential, and another is for the configuration in Ariba network.
The configuration in Ariba would be a one-time activity, and same goes for your creation of the profile and other stuff. So probably both the things is something that if vendor wants to check with or wants to see more clarity onto it, so whom should they approach?
So see, if there are certain queries which are related specifically to Ariba network, then they can actually create a support ticket. That is one part. If there are Ariba consultants who are working with with the buying organization, so the suppliers can also consult them both for the configuration and also for the creation of credentials. Does that
Okay.
answer your question?
Not completely, because let's say while Sneha has been answering, questioning a lot of stuff onto it. So let's say if Sneha is stuck at a point of time and she is not able to enroll one of the vendor, right? Probably it's from HCL that we are facilitating our vendors to get a smooth transition. But what if the vendor directly wants to approach you, understand something? How that linkage would happen? So I understand that there's a ticketing system, right, where from the Ariba portal a ticket can be raised and probably that could be addressed. But is there a specific desk? Because specifically for India this change is happening. So for India vendors, how we would be catering that queries?
See, currently there is no specific desk for India, but the normal ticketing flow can be used for, I think, for those type of queries. Because even the support team which is working on the global requirement, they will also be aware of the India specific requirement. So there is no separate team for India as such. So there are global teams supporting every country and core Ariba network itself.
Okay, so they would be able to support on the GST inquiry as well with all that requirement.
Yeah, right. See, basically what they will do is whatever information has been published or has been provided in this presentation. So there are a lot of information there. So they can actually provide that type of information to the suppliers. And if there are any further queries related to or some questions associated with that, they might the suppliers can actually raise further requests for that. But the ideal way of handling this would be with the buying organization, if they can actually because for every supplier it may not be possible for a support team from Ariba to provide all those details. And especially if there are some type of things at the tax authority level, so the support team will not have much idea about that. So what I'm saying is that if there are some Ariba related queries, if something which is related to this presentation or how to configure that, some basic steps about registration to the tax authorities, all of those queries, the support team can actually handle because they are documented. But if there are some specific things which are required by the suppliers, then the support team may not be able to answer that, because they will not have knowledge about that.
So primarily, I'm concerned about the Ariba front. It's not about the tax authorities, how they would be handling. So anything in terms of registration, whatever. So you have answered some of the questions. Probably there is something which is still unaddressed. What I will do is I will separately coordinate with the SPOCs that are being
Sure.
aligned with HCF. Okay.
All right. Yeah. Sure.
Okay. So any additional question? I think we have, completely utilized the time. So any last questions we have?
So Utpal, one question that let's say the some of the suppliers who are above 500 crores and they have already set up the invoice registration through IRP portal and they don't want to go through the Ariba solution. So for them, if we want to onboard to Ariba, so how we can do that? Is there anything planned or any support?
Yep. So I was hoping that this question should come, because in Indian context we are seeing a lot of these type of scenarios. So
Yeah.
what we are actually working on right now is to provide that type of flexibility where the suppliers will be able to say that I will use the 2020 solution, but I do not want to report my invoices to the tax authorities. I have a pre-approved invoice. So in those cases, the supplier will be provided with all the fields which the new regulations required, but those invoices will not be submitted to the tax authorities. They will simply be submitted directly to the buyer. So there is work in progress for that type of an enhancement, and so it will depend on the supplier to say that I will submit my invoices to IRP, or I already have a pre-approved invoices from IRP. I do not want to submit it to the IRP. I want to submit it to the buyer. So those type of feedback we will take from the supplier in the legal profile itself, and accordingly the invoices will be routed either to the IRP or to the buyer.
But to make the Ariba generated invoice as a legal invoice, we will have to capture the IRN and the QR code, right, on the Ariba generated invoice. Otherwise, that will be meaningless. I mean, we'll not able to utilize it for all the tax purposes.
No, I could not follow that question.
So,
Can you
so
come again?
the Ariba generated PDF invoice, the original for buyer, to make it a legal invoice, we need to have the IRN number and the QR code on the invoice copy, right? So these kind of scenarios, how we will handle that?
No,
How
no,
we
no. So there is one thing, right? That the supplier is using another application, not Ariba Network, some other application for submitting the invoices to IRP.
Yeah.
Okay. IRP will actually submit a invoice JSON, or will submit a QR code, and a supplier will be required to or supplier will have that information about that invoice, because he has only provided the details to IRP. So what supplier can do is he can actually come to Ariba Network and he can create that invoice. Basically, when I'm saying creating the invoice, he can replicate the same invoice in Ariba Network, and he can say that submit this invoice directly to the buyer. So there will be a field for capturing the invoice registration number. There will be a attachment for providing the QR code attachments and JSON file attachments. All of those things will be there, and invoices in those cases will not be submitted to the tax authorities. It will be submitted to the buyer.
Okay.
Okay. So there will be a provision for that, and that is a work in progress. And because there are a lot of demand of that type of a flow in India, especially.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah. Okay. So if there are no further questions, we can actually conclude this session.
Yeah. Thank you, Utpal. Thank you so much
Thanks
for
for
your
leading the
time.
session.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Thank you so
everyone.
much.
Thanks for
And
Have a
arranging
good
the
one.
please get
session.
back
Thank
Bye-bye.
you
if
all.
there are, sure, please get back if there are any questions, and we will be happy to answer.
And
Yeah.
we will
All
get
right.
the recording of this session, right?
Yes, yes. So you will
Yes,
get the
Abhishek.
recording and you will get the artifacts as well.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks
Yeah.
all for